Good evening, campers, and hi. Today we are going to make Billionaire shortbread with gold dust. For the shortcrust pastry, we are going to use water, icing sugar, flour, butter, egg, and for the filling, we are going to use condensed caramel. For the topping, we are going to use dark chocolate, a nice dark chocolate, some edible gold glitter. You can also use luster dust, and we're going to use egg. Supplies wise, we're going to use a mini muffin tray, some baking parchment, lentils, and a food processor. Because this avoids you having to use your hands on the pastry. And we're going to put in our flour, icing sugar, butter, and a pinch of salt, which I totally did not forget to mention earlier. I did. We are going to whirl that all together until it resembles breadcrumbs. Sort of a nice fine powder, the salt, flour, sugar, butter, and then we're going to gradually add the eggs bit by bit so that it doesn't get all gloopy and sort of congealed in areas. Once you've got all them combined, we are going to add in our water just a little bit, just until it resembles a sort of curdled effect. Sort of like scrambled eggs. If it looks like scrambled eggs, not the kind you make in a microwave, but like the kind you make in a pan, then you're on the right track. If your pastry and work environment are cool enough, then you can just start working on it straight away. Otherwise, you can just put it in the fridge for a little while. It should be fine there for about half an hour. Luckily for me, I have cold hands, like my heart. So I'm able to just dump it straight onto a floured surface and start working with it straight away. You're going to dust up your rolling pin. Going to mould that up and then flatten it out so it's no more than about 3 millimeters, I'd say. We want it nice and thin because we don't want it to make it chunky, because when we're filling in the muffin cases, the mini muffin cases, because they're small, if they're too chunky, then we're not going to be able to get enough filling in. And I love condensed caramel so much. I don't think it's close to, I'm going to pronounce it wrong, delish. That one, I'll write it down below. You can have a cutter, but I am using a children's cup. I just found it really handy because it made the perfect size circles for my mini muffin tin, and I haven't found a cutter that size either, so really handy. We just keep remoulding it until we can get as many little circles out as we can. Just keep going, use it all up. Waste not, want not. I don't like waste, what can I say? Once you've got as many circles as you can possibly make from your pastry, we're going to start stuffing it into our pastry tin, or mini muffin tin. It's not a pastry tin. What am I talking about? I made a relatively small batch here, so I'm just filling it wherever I can fit them in. Partially for weight distribution, that's why they're sort of more spread out as opposed to one in every single one. And we're doing this so we can do some blind baking. Once you've filled your tray, you can start trimming the excess off the top, just to make it a little bit neater. You don't have to if you don't want to. They can be misshapen. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's baking. The science is in the actual cooking of the stuff and mixing of ingredients. But whatever. So I just trimmed these up just to make it easier, neater. It was to be neat. I tried to make it look nicer. There's a reason they say things look homemade. So once you've got all of this tidied up, we're going to move on to the blind baking part. You should cut your parchment paper, your baking paper. I didn't, I just ripped it, partially out of laziness. I'm not gonna lie, I was lazy. So it's just a matter of grabbing your parchment and stuffing those holes. I used just lentils to fill these up, to weigh the paper down so that the pastry doesn't rise, so it helps it keep its shape. You can actually get baking beans and reusable baking beads and things of that nature. I just use lentils because they're cheap, they're readily available, and I always have them in the house because I use them for soup. In fairness, most of my cooking comes out of me having stuff in, which is why I usually bake seasonally and cook seasonal foods, because they're cheaper, and why spend more money than you have to? That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. I put the pastry back in the fridge for about 30 minutes, and I use this time to preheat the oven to 175 degrees Celsius or 350 Fahrenheit, and that's for a fan assisted oven, so we just bump that up for convention ovens. If you're using a conventional oven, that'll be 200 degrees Celsius or 390 degrees Fahrenheit. So we're going to bake that for 10 minutes, take it out, and we're going to remove all of the parchment and all of our lentils or beads, whatever we've used to weigh down pastry. I left this in for 15 minutes, and now you know what happens. It burns it a bit. I mean, it still tasted fine, but you're warned. So once you've got all your lentils out, you're going to put them back into the oven, and then we're going to take them out and let them cool down on your baking rack. Ignore the tiny feet running up and down the kitchen in the background. There are no little humans there trying to steal my baked goods. No. Next thing once they've cooled down, we're gonna take our condensed caramel and we're gonna start filling them in. It took all of my willpower not to just start eating that entire can with those spoons. I was tempted, let me tell you. The thing with these is, it's so easy to just try and make them all perfect straight away, whereas I found it a lot easier to just plop it in to begin with and then smooth it out. So we're actually working outwards from the centre to flatten it. Otherwise, you're just going to end up with a big mess, and nobody wants that. Next, we're going to move on to the topping. I know with Billionaire shortbread, it's usually like a slab of chocolate, but I wanted it to be a bit lighter, so we're making a sort of mousse. So we're going to set up a double boiler, if you don't have one, with a saucepan, some simmering water, a bowl, and the dark chocolate. While that's melting, we're going to separate the egg whites from the yolks, and we're going to whip up the whites till they're nice and fluffy, and we're going to beat the yolks. So while that's tempering and becoming lovely and melty, look at it, Yeah, we want it to be nice and glossy. So we're going to remove it from the heat and then add the yolk. Otherwise, it's going to scramble in there and it's not going to be pleasant. So once it's mixed in, I like to add it to the heat again, just so that it gets a little bit glossier. Because sometimes because it's cool, it can get hard. So I had to heat it up a little bit there, but you usually want to keep it off the heat. Once we've added all the yolks and it's a beautiful glossy colour, and we've let it cool down just a little bit, we're going to start adding the chocolate to the egg white mixture. So we're going to add that in with a spatula and we're going to fold it in gently. I mean, I've speeded the whole process up here, but I want to be nice and gentle. Once you've folded that mixture together, you can put it straight into your piping bag if you're using one, which I decided to do after I chilled it. Don't do that. If you're gonna pipe it, put it in the piping bag first and then chill it. And put it there for, I put mine in for an hour just so that it got some sort of shape. You don't have to. You can just go straight ahead, but I found it held a better shape once it's been chilled for a little while. What you can do once you've got your mousse and you're happy with it in whatever form it's in, and you can either spoon it or pipe it on top of your caramel. I love the dark chocolate. I just think it is a great sort of balance out for the caramel because it's very sweet, and although I could eat an entire jar to myself, it just works so well together. I don't know, a lot of the times when I have Billionaire shortbread, it just doesn't taste right. I think it's just slabs of chocolate, and I think this is just a nicer taste, and it's smoother, and it doesn't hurt your teeth if you've got fillings. See how much I care? I'm considerate. Once I had filled all these up, I actually put them back in the fridge. They are so nice when they're chilled. They're nice when they're room temperature too, but oh my god, they are divine when they're chilled. Once they're all set, then all that's left to do is sprinkle on some of your gold dust and then devour these delicious delicacies. Ah, they're so nice, which is why I think they're worthy of being Scrooge McDuck's Billionaire Shortbread Bites. And don't forget, if you like the video, hit that like button, subscribe, share it with all your friends, and if there's anything you want to know about this or anything else you want to know, feel free to put it in the comments down below. Adios, au revoir, auf Wiedersehen, my friends.